Okay, so it is the 1st of July 2015. That is the date on which I met my next guest. We were part of the same cohort at Viacom International Media Networks, and it was our first day. In fact, I remember her being chastised for being dressed too casually on her first day of work. And that just describes, who she is. And since then, she's gone on to break immense barriers. She is the founder and chief creative officer of Duma Collective. That is a business and an agency that has stamped its authority on this market so aggressively. She's done immense work for massive African brands, including Showmax, DSTV, and the MultiChoice Group in general, F&B, Heineken, Puma, Chivas Regal across the continent, and it doesn't get any better than that. She also sits on the board of the Effie Awards, as well as the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture's Advisory Committee. So you've made it to government. And she's a complete operator. She is fondly known as the Fixer. Ladies and gentlemen, award-winning Sibu Mabena.
My full government name. Geez, Ted, can I take you everywhere with me, please?
This is true.
What an intro.
How are you?
I'm so good. This is making me very happy. You've done a great job. Thank you.
I did a good job.
Thank you.
What's a typical week like for you?
Yeah, no 2 weeks are the same.
Right.
I think the only thing that is constant is my 9 a.m. on a Monday leadership meeting.
Okay.
That is a non-negotiable.
Okay.
I try to make church a non-negotiable.
Okay.
Sometimes I'm just really tired.
Yes.
But in between, it's meetings, lots of meetings.
Right.
And that's why I hate phone calls, because I'm always missing them.
Right.
And then I have to return them. Send me a text.
So you send gifts instead?
So, yeah, I'm the sticker queen. It's brainstorming sessions. Okay. It's one-on-ones with teammates. It's business development. Right. It's amplifying things. Right. Sometimes I get to share my story on podcasts. Yes. And have conversations with amazing people. So yeah, my weeks are very eclectic, but the golden thread is making money.
Okay. Have you, by the way, speaking of making money, you're probably one of, and I remember this when first meeting you. There's a phrase we say in French, like cette femme est très courageuse. Like you might have an extreme courage gene. Have you mapped out where all your entrepreneurial traits come from?
I have, actually.
Okay. Well, who does the courage come from?
My father.
Okay.
In conversation with my dad, I get to hear his story a lot because he speaks of it a lot. I've even traced back where the talent management thing comes from. And he was a talent manager in the 1970s. Yeah. Where the communications thing comes from.
He was a talent manager in the 1970s?
Yeah, he managed a model named Julia Matundra. She was Miss South Africa at some point, but like the black version, the native Miss South Africa. Or Miss Soweto or something like that. But they did a Lux campaign, and he was an extra in the Lux campaign, and she was the lead. And in conversation over lunch, they were just discussing, how much are you getting paid? How much are we getting paid? And he was just unaccepting of the fact that she was getting paid so little to do such a big job, and her face was going to be on all the billboards in Soweto, etc. So he partnered with a lawyer, and together they went and advocated for her to the agency to get paid more money. And this is during apartheid obviously,
era time, correct. That's why.
And the agency was just like, oh, if she wanted more money, all she had to do was say so. But because she didn't have the voice to say so, she had my father and his lawyer business partner speak for her, and they were able to get her more money. And later on, when he moved to the UK, she was able to kind of receive them, and he lived with her for a while and then found his own place. And just a beautiful, full circle story. And that mimics a lot of the stories that I have with the different talent I've managed. He worked in the communications office of the ANC during when he was in exile in the UK. So that's where that comes from. That's a powerful thread. When he comes back from the UK into South Africa out of exile, he starts a security company and becomes a BEE partner to a big company called Springbok Patrols.
Right.
And they have the Joburg Stadium contract and they're doing security for concerts. So that's, I liken it to Air to Security today. And I say, wow, that was actually my dad.
Yes.
And his company was called Sibu Patrols, which is my name. And because it was started when they came back into South Africa, which is also when I was born.
So Sibu Patrols, we come back patrols.
We are back, yes.
Okay.
So
Back.
it's that. And he also took me into a lot of different spaces, a lot of different boardrooms.
Right.
So I'm not intimidated by...
At what age was that?
I mean, from as little as 4 or 5, I would get to go to the office and 3,000 security people under his leadership, I suppose. I'd get to see people working for my dad. Right. My dad was also running a gun shop in Sunnyside, and my sister was running that for him after graduating. So he's instilled a lot of the work ethic that we have comes from a lot of what he was doing. And I just saw the results of it, and it was, I like that there's money at the end of this.
Right.
The inputs, you are in control of the inputs, and the output is right. So learning all of that, seeing my dad work, and then on the other hand, my mom, who was a proper 9 to 5 an employee. She worked in Mandela's office at Shell House and then moved on to government communications. And she did that for, I think, 20 years. And every day waking up to go to work, when she had her leave, she had her leave. And I got to go to work as well with her during school holidays and go and see what a big government operation looks like and being welcomed by people on the floor, and just exposure is what led to me being this way now.
So who does the creative gene come from?
I don't know. Honestly, I can't say. But I think all of these different people in my life who have been able to do things from a place of having to create opportunities. That's what I do. I create opportunities. I create solutions. I just, I take what is the problem and I create the solve. And that's how I become the fixer.
When you launched Dance Nation, first of all, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
That's a owned product.
Correct.
Okay.
It is, and because my background is in dancing, that's actually how I got here. I think what I'm trying to do is develop a property that can bring people who are currently like what I was back then.
Got you.
And expose them to some of the things that I was exposed to, in the hope that it'll contribute to their self-actualization as creatives who want to do things, whether it's as an entrepreneur, a freelancer, as an employee in an organization. But there's something about the exposure to other people who are already doing something great that can influence how your mind thinks and how you kind of interpret the world and all the things that you have access to, and then put that together and become something amazing. So my vision is to see 2,000 dancers in a space, all learning from people who are doing amazing things, and us getting to sit down and have a conversation during a panel discussion, them getting to ask questions, them getting to meet the greats, a Buntle, a Losha Cooper, a Jojo Khatebe, who's based in the UK and working on BBC's Strictly Come Dancing. That opportunity to access that kind of network, I think, is what separates one person from the next. And it's a ticket of 380 Rand. So for 380 Rand, you're able to come in and spend 8 hours with people who are like you, and you're able to network laterally, but people who you look up to, and you're able to network vertically.
So it's not just a dance competition?
No, it's a dance camp.
Oh,
and in that, we've got 8 choreographers who are all teaching a class for an hour each. And then we've got a dance battle at the end of the day. But we've also got a panel discussion that's taking place. And we've got, breakaway spaces where you can go and meet a friend. And you guys were struggling to learn a piece of choreography together. And that creates a bond, and it establishes a lifelong friendship maybe. And it's white kids, it's black kids, it's Indian kids, it's Asian kids. So in that... because that's what I had exposure to when we were competing overseas, was just the world opened up to me to say, it's not just you who loves dancing. There are other people like you. They just don't look like you. So imagine that that influence on your thinking as a child, as a 12-year-old, to say, oh my goodness, the world really is my oyster. And if there are other people who don't look like me but are like me, how does that influence their experience of the world when they go into varsity and then when they go into the working place? So that's really all I'm setting up, is an environment for networking of like-minded people, but also exposure.
Got you. Dance may still be considered a passion point. So if someone goes to their mom and says, I want to be a dancer, their mom might say that should be plan B or plan C. Are we in an economy or a market where people can live from their passion points yet, or we're still a long way to go?
I mean, they can always be better.
Right.
We can always do more. You juxtapose it against the US economy, for example, where there's at least a minimum wage for performers, where we don't have that yet. However, considering how the world has opened up, considering how much access people have to information, how much access people have to tools to amplify their talents, I think it's developing now. We're not all the way there yet, one. Two, there are many examples of people who've turned their passions into profit.
Correct.
All the choreographers that are teaching at Dance Nation Africa have done exactly that. We are paying them to come in and conduct a class for an hour. That's already an example of being able to monetize your passion.
Yeah.
There's someone like me who dancing is actually what put me into the space, because I was able to exchange my talent for the money that I was being paid by brands to create dance properties that, help them sell to their audiences or the audiences that we have. So it's just to say, where we didn't necessarily have examples back then, my family would be like, oh, you want to end up like these famous people who died of drug addiction,
right?
Or these famous people who die with no money. And it's to say, no, let me show you, give me a chance and I'll show you. And they did. And now we are the examples to, other kids who say, I want to end up like a Sibu Mabena, a Mudisele, a Snembata, all of these different people who have done it. Okay. So it's possible, but we should still do better.
Tell me about how you play the business game. Are you a sharp elbows, or are you a maneuvering sort of character in this whole ecosystem?
Oh, sheesh. I'm opportunistic.
Right.
You
have sharp elbows, though.
Okay, tell me why you think so.
There's sometimes a woman can play the game in the same way that a man does.
Okay.
And gets equally criticized, or criticized even more for being a lot more aggressive and a lot more courageous and a lot more boisterous about what she wants. And I think that when I was talking about your gene courage, courage comes with this dispelling of fear. It's not the absence of the fear. It's that I'm going to charge through this dark alley anyway.
Yeah.
And when you're charging through a dark alley, your people get jostled and you have to jostle. Is that a misrepresentation of how I think you play the game?
No, I think it's an honest observation. Okay. And some of that is absolutely true.
Great, by the way.
Some of it is absolutely true.
Right.
But I wouldn't liken it to how men do it.
Okay.
Because while some things may be similar, because you have to show up on time, you have to be a professional,
yes,
you have to be able to speak confidently, you have to be able to package your ideas and deliver them well in a way that will land to the audience. There are also softer qualities that I bring to the table, like empathy, like caring for the people who are going to contribute to the outcome. So for argument's sake, when we're in pre-production for something that's happening, and I ask the question, do we have toilets, enough toilets for women if we're shooting in the middle of the street, where a man is able to go and just do what they need to do on the side of the road because it's socially acceptable? A woman can't.
Can't do that.
You actually need a VIP toilet trailer on site. Right. It's an extra 5,000 rand cost, but are you thinking about that?
Right.
On a podcast like this, for example, the fact that you had a makeup artist for me, I appreciate that consideration, because when you have a man on the seat, you don't have to care about stuff like that.
Wipe your forehead, right?
Yeah, you wipe your forehead, put Vaseline on your lips, and keep it moving. But there are considerations that accompany women participating in the work, right? Gotcha. So that's what I bring to the table. And often I have to present that argument in a passionate manner, because the people you're speaking to just don't have the understanding.
Right.
And then that comes across as, oh no, you're being emotional. No, I'm not being emotional. I'm being factual. And I'm passionate about my point because it is what is going to help us achieve our objectives collectively.
Right.
So, yes, it has taken a little bit more performance because a lot of our stakeholders don't necessarily understand or aren't exposed to this kind of behavior from women because of how they were raised or what they've seen to be normalized. But unfortunately, we have to come and showcase a different perspective because without us, this industry isn't what it is.
And how do you define your leadership style and I'm talking now in your business?
I think I am empathetic.
Okay.
That's the number one thing, because being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes in order to make a decision that affects them and the rest of the business is something that I think I've done quite well. Two, I'm very pragmatic.
Right.
I'm not a pie in the sky kind of person.
Right.
I want us to come up with ideas and solutions that are going to actually drive an agenda of commercial success, one, but two, are going to be beneficial to as many people as possible and not just one person. Three, transparent.
Okay.
A lot of people in the organization know a lot of things about the organization, right down to our financial targets. Did we achieve? Did we not achieve?
Right.
When we've gotten fired by a client, what were the actual reasons?
Right.
When things happen in the organization that have shifted from what we initially set out to, I try to bring the people along the journey as much as possible without compromising their sanity. You know, you also have to be measured in what you bring people into, just so that they are not anxious about how things are happening. Okay. And then after the fact, once we've gotten through it, I'm like, guys, I was actually suffering. I was going through a lot, and I've had to have those conversations with the team so that they can trust and believe that I've got their back. And I understand that if I don't tell you what's going on, you'll make up your own mind. And then you end up resigning, which has happened. So with that, I try to be very, there's transparent, and then I try to be as honest as possible without compromising other people's stories and their journeys.
Does that behavior dictate the culture in the business?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I'm also I do what I said I'm going to do kind of person. So that's what I expect you to do.
Yes.
That's the social contract that we have here. Just get the basics right. Bring your perfect brick so we can build a perfect wall and do what you said you're going to do. And I drive that as much as possible. We're in the office at 9:00. If I'm there at 9:01, I write in the book just like everybody else, because we've got a book at reception that if you're walking in late, you must be able to write like back in school. Because it also starts to show you when there's a pattern. Where you've been late 6 times. What's going on? Let us address that. I do exactly the same thing. I'm not just the founder, so I can do whatever I want to do. Sometimes I'm the last one to leave the office, and not because I want to impose that on other people or I want to impose that behavior on my team to say, if I do it, then you must do it. No. But if I don't show you that I'm invested in this company as much as I'm asking you to be invested in it, then I can't ask anything of you, because then I'm just dictating to people because I pay you.
Right.
No, I don't. We pay each other.
Correct.
Because if you don't do your job, then we don't get paid, then I can't pay you. So it's to show that, guys, I'm in the trenches with you. I will steam iron a banner wall. I will pack up table talkers at the end of the event. I will client service. I will hold someone's baby whilst they're being interviewed. That's the kind of culture we've cultivated, that we are there for each other, whether you're at the top or not the top.
I watched you go from CEO, so you had founder and CEO, and you've changed it to founder and chief creative officer.
Yes.
What changed internally?
I think it's that I have an MD in the form of Lindiwe Maduna.
Yes.
Who really actually helps drive the strategy. She's doing the role of a CEO without that title. And she's able to keep all the fiduciary responsibilities running and make sure that what we said we're doing as a company is actually happening. She's also basically our client service director. So she wears many hats that mimic that of a CEO.
Right.
Where on my side, I just want to do the creative stuff.
Right.
Like, I just want to drive creativity that, leads to effective marketing. And that's why that's my number one title.
How did you get to the decision? Did someone help you see it, or you were just like, I need someone else to do this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, we were a spaza shop, Ted. Like, yes, dude. Yeah. Like we'd get to December and I say, do I have money in the bank? If I have money in the bank, we're paying bonuses.
Oh, wow. Okay.
No. Are we profitable? Are we, hey, there's money. It's a bonus.
It's come, it's gone.
You understand? We're Jimeli. We're team lunch.
You're jamming.
It was nice.
Right.
And at some point, I met Thabiso Hermanus and Patrick Mulumba, and they became my advisory board because they were just in the business of helping Black business become
structured
and, just a proper economic participant. And it's not that I wasn't running a nonsense operation. It just wasn't the type of company that you could build to sell one day.
Yes.
So we embarked on a journey where they came in and started helping me really corporatize the operation because I think, granted, creative as we may be, and there's a space for everybody in the world, there are just certain behaviors that you've got to apply in order to have the relevant conversations with the type of clients you want to have.
Yes.
So when I'm pitching for work and they're asking for all of our compliance documents, there's a folder, it's kept up to date, BE certificate, affidavit, our financials, we have management accounts that are regularly updated, our balance sheet is good. I'm able to confidently say I'm running a proper business. I do good business.
Correct.
We even have payment processes. People must be registered on EFT show, all these things that bore me.
Right.
We issue PO numbers. As an agency, we are giving
the PO
influencers PO numbers. And I say, wow.
It.
So when we do like our event, we've got this year start event, the Kickstart. And I say to people, it's either you're here because you received a PO from us or a POP, or we've received a PO or a POP from you, or you've been a friend of the brand and supporting us like media. And to me, it's so cool to just be a structured organization. And with that, we're also teaching other people to be like that. Other smaller agencies that we're commissioning for work, other production companies, influencers, talent agencies, etc., to say, hey, please send me a quotation.
Yes.
I will send you a purchase order. A purchase order tells you that I'm committing money from this budget to paying you.
Yes.
PO send.
There's a
send
cost
me
center.
An invoice. There's a cost center for it.
Yes.
And we're also now managing our books better, and it's teaching the people in the team. So even one of the girls who were working with us, she was a client service person.
Yes.
Moved to Ogilvy. And when she got to Ogilvy, she was like, damn, if Senzi hadn't taught me half of the things that I know and am able to do today, I would have gotten here and spent another month trying to learn.
Yes.
So what we're doing is also giving people an advantage that when they grow out of the business and go into other agencies, they're arriving as fully packaged individuals.
Right.
And they'll learn what they learn, but you don't have to start from scratch, right? So that's adding value to their own careers and their abilities. So there's so many things that we're doing to just become an agency, small as we are, that can stand against the biggest.
Correct. And it's actually one of the reasons most of our businesses fail. Apart from the fact that business is hard, governance is the reason our businesses fall apart, right? So to your point, there's money in the bank, therefore we will go wild and we'll do X, Y, Z. What are some of your sort of memorable moments where you're like, this might be over if we don't change the behavior? Have you gotten to that?
I've never had that moment.
Okay.
I think there's always been a confidence that so long as I'm breathing, I'll always be able to do that which I set out to do. I love that. God didn't instill this dream in me to fail.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's been failures in certain experiences, right? But not necessarily in the dream. And no, I haven't gotten to a point where it's like, if this doesn't change, then, because I've been very intentional and deliberate is actually the word, in doing the best that I can to do the right thing.
Okay.
Even when we lost a client that was responsible for 51% of our revenue, by God's grace, we had already started pitching for other work that was then going to, in some way, shape, or form, grow to replace that client.
Got you.
And by God's grace, it actually happened.
Right.
So there have been failures, like personal failures where I haven't shown up as the best possible leader a person could have. And I've had to acknowledge that and go and do something about it. There have been times where I've physically not been able to show up for work because I'm exhausted, and there's actual burnout, which is a real thing.
Yes, it's a real thing.
So taking that seriously and doing something about it. But that one of, if we don't retrench, we're going to fail.
We're done.
No.
Okay. So you have you developed a very strong sales organization, or it's just you and your drive, and then you get your MD to sort of schedule pitches? I mean, how far out are you looking from a...
I wish I had a TED.
Okay.
I do. Someone who could take the biz dev responsibility off of, call it Exco's shoulders. Okay. However, kudos to the team that we work with, because those ones are hunters, okay? Like,
yes,
in the work that we have, someone's coming back with another brief.
Right.
And it's more, we're getting briefs on the briefs we have than it is like, oh, guys, pitch.
Say more about that. You're getting briefs on the briefs you have.
Yeah, so we'll be doing influencer work on one account.
Right.
And then after 2-3 weeks, the client is like,
expand.
Do you think you can help us with the PR? We say, of course we can. So, and it's not coming to me. I just hear from an account manager that, guys, we've got a brief for PR for X account.
Right.
When we were initially just doing influencer work. Or we're doing the influencer work and then we've got a creative brief. Or can you guys help us with a bridge campaign between this big campaign we've got and the other big one that the lead agency is developing, just so we can keep active. Yeah. So that's where some of the biz dev is happening.
Right.
It's at the execution
where you're already
level.
Flourishing.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then there is the new work that myself and Sislindi are really like hunting. I'll spend a full day out of the office and come back with 3 briefs because I've just gone and spoken to people.
Right.
So there's that. However, could we do better? Absolutely, if we had a dedicated sales team.
Yeah.
But the plan or the strategy for now has just been to stabilize that which we do have, because coming out of having serviced such a big organization and then recalibrating, some people are resigning and going to bigger agencies or other opportunities, and then we've got other people coming in, then we just got to stabilize.
Right.
Then the next step is to build a sales team that's going to go out and sell the product.
Yeah.
Also us refining, also us developing individuals in the team to go and get them trained and driving an education agenda and an exposure agenda. We send the teams to the Luries, go see what's happening there.
Right.
Workshops that the IAS does or the ACA does. So there's a lot of stabilizing that we're doing. But one day, Ted, I'm going to come to you and say, hey, can you help us build a sales team?
We can always have the conversation. Tell me about when I heard something you said about people resigning, etc. How do you navigate when you've seen someone as a flight risk and you're still allowing them to, work in the business? Do you start working to keep them, or do you sort of start working them out of the business?
We don't know what we don't know.
Got you.
And we try so hard to foster an open relationship and communicate with us and tell us if you have plans to grow out or you're looking for a new opportunity, so we can also help you. I've said that, like, bring me your CV, let me review it so I can help you get or even I can speak to my network and say, guys, I've got this really incredible social media manager. Is anyone looking? Because then it comes from a place of me wanting to help you grow.
Yes.
Because once I am conscious of the fact that it's either you're no longer happy here or you're looking for a new opportunity and there's nothing really we can offer in that space, because we've had that before where someone wanted to go into advertising. And at the time we were like, we don't do that. We don't have the capacity for that. I can't even build a department for you to say you're going to head up that.
Right.
And we've helped look together and he found the job, and he went out there. Then he came back. Said, right, I've learned.
I tried it.
I'm thinking we could do this at Duma. And we welcomed him with open arms.
Okay.
And then later on, he started his own property. And we helped him do that.
Okay.
That's the kind of relationship I want to foster with people. However, humans being humans have their own experiences where they come from, their own traumas, their own triggers. So it doesn't always work out that way.
Lack of trust. Yeah.
Another person, needs to move provinces completely. And there's a conversation happening to say, okay, how's about we restructure the arrangement to be like this versus what we currently have now? Another one wanted to change vocations completely, like go from being a social media manager to an artist. Say, amazing. Sell me your art now before it becomes too expensive.
Right.
We are very supportive of people growing because we understand it. All we ask is for the opportunity to also get our house in order.
Absolutely.
Because now if you leave and you're going to serve 2 weeks and it's, someone's even said, expect a courtesy call from my future CEO. I say, what? What are we what is happening right now? And it's not because they're a bad person. It's just because of the nature of the landscape right now. People are people feel like there's so much opportunity.
Yes.
People feel like they are so good, and they are.
Right.
That the market is really their oyster, you know? So you just take each situation as it comes.
Right.
And try to also maintain a balanced sense of, or a balanced point of view amongst the teammates who remain behind.
All right.
So we've been having conversations with people recently to say, guys, are you okay with what's happening? Seeing so many different people leaving. What's happening in your mind? What are your thoughts? And we discuss and we say, anything that you're feeling, please do talk to us about it so that it doesn't become a mountain when it was just a molehill.
Right.
Sometimes when you see people leaving, you're like, oh, is the company suffering?
Or,
for example, we haven't done salary increases when we've done it for the past 4 or 5 years.
Of course.
But because of this massive change we've had, where 51% of the revenue is gone now,
correct,
we've got to make different decisions until we stabilize and get back to where we were. Those are constant conversations you have to have with people. And it's not to say, what I'm about to say is not to say that these are children, but it's like being a parent.
Of course.
You think about the emotions and the psychology and what people are exposed to, and you've got to put yourself in their shoes and say, if I was seeing a bunch of people leaving this organization, what would I think? That, hey, the Titanic is
It's
sinking.
time to, look at the door. Right.
No. We are the MSC cruise, dear. From Devon to the islands and back. We will not sink, you know?
For sure.
But you have to have that conversation with people. And that's where my leadership style of transparency comes in, because I understand that people will people.
Yeah. It's a brave new world. One of the things that I think you've done exceptionally well is build a personal brand and a business brand and sort of allow the two to exist together and also become an open book. What's the hard thing about being an open book?
I think it would be how the stories that are my stories are told in the context of the people who contributed to those stories.
Right.
If I've had a negative experience, but what I'm saying about it is, got a positive outcome, it doesn't take away from the negative stuff, and someone contributed to that. Right?
Yes.
So sometimes not being able to protect the person who influenced a negative experience in my life,
right,
that can be a cost.
Right.
Two, I suppose it also exposes you to people's judgments or people's assessments and how they're able to arrive at conclusions about you because of what you've said about how your lived experience. And it's like, oh, that's why she's like that. It's like, okay, so now you've decided that your perception of me based on what you've heard about me, from me even, is right and is factual. And now I'm being called all sorts of things. And that can influence someone else's perception of me because they haven't heard my open book story.
Correct.
Three, I think it can leave you vulnerable to people's biases then being confirmed, right? So
Right.
when I come into a boardroom and again, I'm being passionate about a point, they can be like, yeah, it's because you grew up, what.
Right.
If you didn't know that, would you be able to say that
Right.
and then arrive at a decision or a conclusion about me? So there are people who are super guarded. You don't know a thing about them.
Yes.
So all you have is what you see.
Yes.
Where with me, I'm
I'm like that, by the way.
super guarded.
No, I don't think I'm super guarded. You just don't know anything about me. And you could know me for a very long time. But
Yeah, my experience of you has been that you've got to really dig for the information.
right.
But you're not a liar about your life. You
No.
don't present a different persona to who you are. You're not showing us a life that you're not actually living.
Yes.
And I think for me, it's just been easier because I interact with so many people and I want people to have an honest and transparent experience of me so that one day when they reflect back on how I've treated them, they know why and where it comes from. Because I think that matters. People really care for how you treat them. And it doesn't matter what happens in our business relationship or a commercial relationship, one day you'll look back and say, no, man, that person was actually a good person.
Yeah.
Because that matters. I'm a reflection of where I come from. I'm a reflection of my parents, my ancestors, the God that I serve. So if people don't get to experience me or see me for who I really am, then I feel like I've robbed the people who I come from of the glory of their inputs into my life.
Do you think you're playing the money game well? X is also known as a status game. Do you think you're playing a status game as well?
Yeah, because
I think we all are, by the way.
yeah, but my how I want to position my success
Right.
is as a result of my input,
Okay.
right? Like
You want to control what's out there about you.
no, it's
Okay.
I mean I put out what's out there, and then people make interpretations, and others have their experiences that they contribute. Some people have had horrible, negative experiences of me, and others have had really incredible, great experiences of me. But I've always been truthful.
Yes.
I can stand for what I've said about people, to people, behind people's backs.
Right.
I'll always be able to say it to someone's face. But equally, what I show people of my monetary ability, I can back by how much work I've done to
Yes.
attain that.
Yes.
If I fly business class, it's because I can afford to,
Correct.
and I'm not stealing from anyone to do that.
Correct.
If I drive a Volvo, it's not because Jessica Nkosi is an ambassador.
Right.
It's because I'm paying a monthly installment
Right.
off of the salary that I am getting. It's
Right.
not the business's money. I'm not using the business's money to attain that which I have.
Right.
I'm using my salary and my earnings.
Yeah.
Because I've always been clear about that. The business's money is not my money.
Correct.
Because it is responsible for many different outputs. So the money that comes into my personal account at the end of the month, just like everybody else's, that is
You
mine
treat
to
it that
spend,
way.
right?
Right.
So I'm not a flashy person. I do enjoy certain pleasures that the next person may not be able to attain yet.
Right.
But what I'm trying to inspire is to say, guys, there are certain things you can do and you can attain more than me, because there are people who are doing more than me and are getting more than me. So my success brand is put in and get out.
Right.
And for other people, it's my input into your life hopefully yields some kind of return for you, not for me. And whatever your experience was of me, when I have an opportunity to say to someone, I'm sorry that I impacted your life negatively, and to others, I'm so grateful that I had an opportunity to impact your life positively, that for me is the status.
Yeah.
That's the status symbol that matters.
Yeah. When you're talking about what's in the business, if you were to sell Duma Collective now, what is the buyer buying?
The buyer is buying, okay, the package is
Right.
a building
Right.
on 20 Republic Road.
Yes.
which we are currently still in a JV with
Very,
the bank
very
to pay
well done.
off.
Very well done.
Thank you very much. All the furniture in the building.
Right, right.
You are buying a going concern because it is a good business, a profitable business.
Yeah.
One with really great clients, some really good contracts.
Right.
You're buying a very hardworking team
Right.
that is willing to continue to grow an oasis for African creativity to flourish. You're buying IP because there's a really special way that we deliver on our projects. And you get me for a couple of years.
Yes, until you transition out.
Yeah, it would be lovely to be an employee. My goodness. Yay!
Outsource the
I
hard
so
decisions.
wish to get a board that
Right.
I report to, you
Right,
know?
right.
And all of these things are practices we put in place so that we can build a company we can sell
That
one
you can
day.
sell.
But the type of buyer I'm looking for is one that is invested in the growth of the industry, the growth of people, and championing an oasis for African creativity to flourish.
Yeah.
So it's I'm not just looking for anyone with money, an investor who's going to be like, oh no, I need to run a payment through. No,
Right.
we're not doing that. But I am building to sell, and that's something that people should know, and that I'm honest about, because Duma Collective must outlive me. I don't want to die, and then people are wondering what's going to happen to Duma Collective. No, this company can live with or without me, because that's what's going to drive sustainability, not the founder, but the vision. And the vision is an oasis for African creativity to flourish.
Absolutely. In that list of what you buy, I've always said to a lot of friends, I think I've said the same thing to you as well. Take what's in your mind and your brain and put it in a digital platform or a piece of tech. Have you started building a piece of tech of sorts in the business?
Nope. And that's because we outsource that.
Okay.
I think our magic is in coordinating the right pieces of tech to be able to deliver on the mandate.
Okay.
One day, there will be the ability, the capacity, and the finances or the resources to be able to develop products that we can either on-sell or it becomes a tangible item. Yeah. But that's what we're doing with the Dance Nation Africa, for example. To say, in our world, from the things that we know how to do in-house without having to outsource too many resources, what can we develop as a property that can generate revenue outside of what we do day to day?
Right.
So it is an event property. There's we're packaging it as something that is going to be commercially successful via ticket sales, but commercially successful via sponsorship.
Right.
People aren't doing events for kids. People aren't doing family-friendly events. There are maybe 3 or 4 that you can look forward to: a Comic-Con, a Rand Easter show. But the source, I believe, is in creating a platform for you to activate to your future buyer in real time. Correct. In something that they love to do. So we're building a property there, and we're going to do more.
You're sitting on tons of data, though, from everything you've done, from campaigns. You've got people's details, etc. That is a currency.
That it is, but so many people are struggling to monetize that right now. And I don't have the capacity right now to think of, okay, what is going to be my USP? Okay. Currently, all of that data that we have, all of that access that we have, we are actually using to generate money from the money that's coming in, or from the briefs that are coming in.
To de-risk the 51%.
100%.
Right.
But, the time will come for us to develop products.
Right.
At this current moment, like I said, stabilization is the key focus.
Yeah.
And being able to really refine our product for the commercial success of our clients. We want to be kingmakers. We want people to succeed in the jobs that they do because they have brought a Duma Collective on board to help the agency partners or to just deliver on what they've given us to do without agency partners or whatever. So the point is, one day that will happen. We are developing this event property because we are thinking about, how do we de-risk, but also keeping the main thing, and that is delivery of great work.
Absolutely. Have you started tinkering with AI?
In the really rudimentary or elementary ways like ChatGPT. How do we make sure that our teams are able to do work efficiently without stealing from the client as well? Because we've got to be conscious of that you're charging a client 900 Rand an hour to write copy, but you've written in 30 seconds because of ChatGPT.
Okay, wait. You think that's stealing?
I think it's just, okay. There's commercialization, right, and really trying to extract as much value from your clients as possible whilst delivering on a mandate. But there's also, I think, honest business where you're able to deliver value, real value.
Right.
Because why do we need you, copywriter, from an agency, if I, as the brand manager, can just go run this through a ChatGPT AI bot and, do the same thing and save money for the company I work for, which then in turn affects the bottom line, which in turn affects the share price.
Right.
We've got to be conscious of that to say, in using AI, what inputs are we making in order to collaborate with this AI to deliver a very unique solution or a really well-crafted solution or a quality product? So for me, it's not to say that an AI is going to make us all lots of money because we're spending less hours doing the work but charging the same money. It's still to say, how much does the human input then add to the value that an AI is able to derive?
Okay.
There are lots of businesses who are saying, oh, this is where the money's at. And I get that. But I think I run a very human-centric business, and I'm not going to buckle under the pressure of AI first, which then ultimately leads to you needing less resources, which then ultimately leads to you making more profit but impacting less lives. And for me, my calling is to create an oasis for African creativity to flourish, not for African AI to flourish.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. So you don't think that there should be a reward for someone being able to efficiently get the job done through some of these tools?
I think there absolutely should be a reward because you've spent time or you've invested time in learning how to use those tools. So, you should be rewarded.
Right.
But I think the long-term effect of us taking shortcuts is going to be one, we've now created a generation of people who can only function through the use of tools and can't apply themselves.
Yes.
Two, companies will start spending less with agencies because they'll crack the code that you people are just using software to do this thing.
Right.
And that's where cost management consultants are coming to the party. And they're now taking the money that we should be earning as agencies because they're saying, oh no, what should have taken you 4 hours takes you an hour. So charge the company less. And when that happens, because it's already starting to happen, then the agencies are going to realize that, damn, we actually shot ourselves in the foot by trying to be so innovative and technologically driven that we don't need the human inputs anymore. So now how are you going to adjust your costing and how much you're charging out to the clients according to the softwares that you're using? Are you going to charge it like astronomical markup? So there's just so many effects on how things are currently working.
Yes.
And I think ours as an industry is to figure out how we do adopt the tools so we don't become archaic, but without jeopardizing the future of this industry. Because where do we expect all these people that we're firing in lieu of AI to go and work? We've got schools of advertising. We've got marketing courses. All these graduates being churned out every single year. Where do they go when they work? If we're saying we are tech first, we are AI driven, you can run your company from your house.
Right.
So now property suffers. And then like so many different problems are derived from this one solution that is coming to solve a problem we didn't have.
Right. It's not the eradication of jobs. It's the introduction of new avenues. And you're going to, I think once you unlock that, you're going to see that How many people in your business at the moment?
48.
48. You're going to realize that if you have these tools, you're simply amplifying productivity. Because that might be one of the biggest challenges at the moment. You have so many water cooler moments where someone walks into the office, okay, 5 minutes, water cooler, 30 minutes, comes back, 7 minutes, coffee, 45 minutes. You understand what I'm saying? So enabling people to work with those tools simply means that you can now take on bigger, better, and smarter opportunities, I think. But I'm very sort of a techno optimist. So I see where that path is going. And I don't think it's going to completely eradicate jobs. It's definitely going to have an impact, but it's going to make Duma 10x potential. And once you see what it can do.
We're embracing it, like I said, at an elementary level.
Yeah.
But it hasn't been a focus. And there are platforms that came in, at the advent of influencer marketing and wanted to really make everything tech focused and it's platform. You interact with your influencers on platforms and you're briefing them and you don't need an intermediary and
Is that AI influencers or real world?
No, real influencers.
Okay.
But I mean, naturally, AI plays a part in the selection of them and the analytics and then chatbots and all of that stuff. Clients went that route, came back, said, sorry, can we try again? And it's because there are just some things you can't remove from the process.
Right.
And human interaction is one of them. So I'm not anti innovation. I'm not anti tech. I just think that the effects of it can be so bad if we're not careful about how we bring these tools into our ecosystem.
Got you.
So I'm doing it, and we're going to do it better and more, just with time.
Understood. What is your feeling about? So you're now in these two worlds. You're doing some work in government, and you're doing private sector. What are you learning from the one that you need to input on the other, or vice versa?
I think that it's, and that's why I want to go into government.
Okay.
I want to go into, and clearly go into government, not go into politics.
Yes.
Because there's so much work to be done in professionalizing how government is administrated in this country. Our departments are not professional operations.
At all.
There are professionals in those departments.
Yes.
But the systems don't allow for them to deliver on their mandate in an effective manner. And that's what I appreciate about corporate. Governance is taken seriously there because they are profit-driven.
At least more than the public sector.
The public sector is not profit-driven. They are... We don't even... Like, I so wish we could run a performance review for all of our government employees. You know how in America they've got jury duty?
Right.
If we could do performance review duty for every employee of government to say, you have been allocated this individual, this is the job that they do, this is the work that they've done, review them, and their salary is dependent on the review. If we could operationalize our government departments in that manner where it actually matters if you've done your job.
Yes.
I think we'd be better as a country. Where in corporate, if you don't deliver on the mandate, you get put onto a performance review. Performance review is now performance management. Performance management.
They work you out of the business. Correct.
Out the door. And I think that's what drives delivery in corporate, right? It's profit-driven and delivery-driven. Yes, there are still problems. Yes, there are people who just don't know how to work in that environment to cope. And yes, it can affect people's experiences of life because, damn, they're always living on an anxious, the anxiety is what's driving them doing their work. And it can get very toxic. I understand that. But if government could be corporatized, I think we'd be better as a country.
Yeah. And the first problem is you don't even actually know who's responsible for what output in government.
Yes.
And that is fundamentally problematic. When when I think about what's required in that space, it's to digitize what you just talked about. How do I know if Musa is responsible for the potholes and who's responsible for the traffic lights, etc.? All you know is your counselor, at most, if you do at all. And that system doesn't exist.
But also just how greed drives a lot of how people behave in certain positions. I blame the procurement departments in these government organizations a lot because they are the gatekeepers of money or how money is spent.
Yes.
Regardless of the brief, a brief can come from someone who's in charge of an event in the government department, and it's to say we need a PA system, flowers, and catering.
Yes.
The person in procurement say, right, my friend, when a company apply a fast man.
Right.
And your company, maybe you're known for
Registered
overalls, you do
right.
PPE.
Right.
But now you're going to go buy flowers, you're going to deliver on catering. And it's just, that's why the service delivery is so bad, because our procurement departments don't take the mandate seriously.
Correct.
They are driven by greed. And many government employees complain about that to say, guys, we're trying to do our jobs, but we can't do our jobs because the people we're working with are not aligned to us delivering. Yeah. It's also political. Someone who's a DG is aligned to one political organization, but the MEC of that department is in a different organization, and we're not going to make them look good. Just because when you're not that organization,
right,
you're going to sabotage the delivery of a mayor or the delivery of an MEC because it makes that political party look good.
Right.
So just the way our system is set up is not conducive to the people and the citizenry being put first.
Correct.
And I don't understand how, because now you're driving a Porsche because you've made money, but on a road with potholes. So
Correct.
every week you must go replace your tires. How people are not thinking about that.
Correct.
So yeah, there's a lot to fix. And I'm not going to fix it alone, but I'm going to contribute to the change I want to see.
Yeah. I think there's going to be a generation where that stuff eventually passes away.
Yeah.
Or we move away from that and we start thinking about, what is... You've been to Dubai many times.
A few times.
How do you feel when you come back into SA from that trip?
Grateful to be home because WhatsApp works, but... It's just...
This is true.
What visionaries.
Yes.
And I haven't seen every part of Dubai because there are pockets of really inhumane treatment.
Yes.
And it almost says to me, to perform at that level of excellence, there is a sacrifice that is being made. And unfortunately, it seems like it's a human sacrifice. I have seen a construction site where there are people who look like they're from the continent of India.
Right.
Rushing to get onto a bus, stampeding, because it seems like there aren't enough buses. If you don't get onto this bus at this time, you're not going to make it home in time, etc.
Yeah.
So it just says the capitalistic nature or that is driving the success of a country like Dubai is at the cost of human life and the human experience.
Yes.
And that's the case everywhere in the world, right? So I have that feeling of, damn, these are God's people. It shouldn't be this way.
Right.
And then there's also inspiration where I say, wow, these people built this city out of nothing. It was a desert. And now it's
very brown.
Skyscrapers. There's water. There's the palms. There's, a huge mall. There's so much economic activity, and it's all being driven by outsiders. Like, no one in Dubai is from Dubai.
Exactly. Everyone's an expat.
And to me, that says there are people in the world who are passionate is the wrong word, but who are focused on their own emancipation economically, their own self-actualization according to the skills and the talents that they have. And I want to be amongst people like that. Am I going to move to a Dubai? No, because I have so much work to do here at home in the land of my birth. But I wish we could be like that.
Yeah. And you started answering my next question, because as you climb up the economic prosperity ladder, have you started working on a plan B, or you're just like...
I have started working on a plan B.
Okay.
I have a financial manager who's read me the Riot Act to say, my sister, you have 40, a good 40 years left of life.
Okay.
And if everything were to stop tomorrow, what are you going to live on? If you left Duma, if Duma Collective collapsed tomorrow,
right,
what happens to you? And I've had to have very honest conversations with myself. Say, damn, how do I ensure financial continuity for myself and for my family and the people I'm responsible for? I mean, I'm not married. I don't have children, but I do have people I care for. I do have, people whose lives I contribute to. So is that going to continue beyond my existence?
Yeah.
And it should. So I'm thinking about things like that. And
I think you have more than 40 years, though. I mean,
I'm 33 now. So if we were to average it and say, okay, 73.
Okay, you turned 34 this year.
Yeah.
So you get to 70, you get to 74 and you think that's when you kick the bucket?
I mean, look, it depends.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't have the count, but an ideal number for me would be
99.
around there, between 74. My grandmother lived to 99.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, 99.
She was still fine and okay.
She was rocking.
It's a long time to be alive.
You get tired.
I'm tired now. I'm 33. I can't imagine how I'll feel at 99. However,
Yes.
I do want to adjust my life at some point to one that is more enjoyable. It's not to say I don't enjoy my life right now, but I think I could do it with less
With less stress?
less stress, less fatigue, less people also.
Less people.
I just have so many people in my life.
Okay. Less people in what context? Less people to deal with?
Commercially, a commercial exchange. There's a lot of people I'm exchanging with.
Okay.
I have the people who I don't have to give anything.
Right.
And I mean, those are people I'm not going to go anywhere or get rid of because we are blood relatives. Then I have
We came here together.
Yeah, we came here together. Okay, I'm alone in my ID photo, but we came here together. There are people who are really close to me, my very good friends that I've been friends with for many, many, many years. And then there are people who I have to engage with because of an outcome.
Yeah.
And that group of people is a lot.
Yeah.
And it's good. It's good because we get to do a lot for a lot of people, but it's not...
In that,
it's tiring.
In that, how many people would you lay your life down for?
Geez, I haven't counted, but there are a few.
There's a few.
There are a few. There are a few.
Yeah. And those are the people who at any given time, if they call, you drop what you're doing and you go take care of whatever.
100%. I mean, there are people who I do that for and still not lay my life down for them, but...
You're on your own, buddy.
Yeah, I'm just, it's not my time. If God says it's my time, that's my time. But the empath in me does that. And there's no formula, if I'm being honest.
Of course.
There can be someone who I've worked with for one day that I would do that for, and I have. And then there can be someone who I've known for 15 years, and I would do that for. So it just depends on the situation and the ability at that time as well.
Back to your thing about exhaustion and fatigue. What's your outlet at the moment?
Sleep. It's an input, but it's an outlet.
It's an outlet. Okay.
Because when I'm sleeping, no one wants anything from me.
Right.
And it's look right now, the period or the season I'm in is a very tough one. It's one where I'm building, I'm losing,
right.
I'm processing, but I'm delivering.
Okay.
Right? And
you're losing yourself or you're losing
people, relationships, jobs, and I'm understanding that you're gonna go, this is the valley of the shadow of death, right?
Yes.
But on the other side is the land of milk and honey. On the other side is the Garden of Eden. On the other side is just joy. And I have pockets of joy even in the season, but I'm not unconscious of what I'm going through.
Right.
So the time for me to feel like I'm breathing, I'm not in deep waters and trying to keep my head above the surface is what I'm going through. I'm gonna chill.
For sure.
The time to chill will come.
It will come.
And I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. Do you have a council of people that you can call and say, yo, it's hard?
I do. And I have people who call me to say we can see it's hot. Are you okay?
Yes.
But like in my immediate people who see me day to day, Lindiwe Maduna and Senzi Mkize are the two people who really call me to order, be like, dude, are you okay?
Right.
I have my team. I have another company called Golden Thread African Agency, which is a talent management business. And that team manages my speaking engagements and all of that. So sometimes they're just like, no, you're not doing that.
Got you.
Actually, during the week, Mbuyisela walked into my office and said, we're here to book leave in your diary. What are you doing?
Right.
And I said,
go away.
Okay, guys, I promise I'm going to take leave.
Okay.
And then I have my sister who calls and checks and says, you're too quiet, what's going on? But I have my brother who lives with me and he's just like, Siebes, are you okay? He knows when to make pasta for me.
Right.
He knows. Because we're a chicken breast and brown rice household.
Okay.
Especially if Man United loses. So that's
Man
definitely what he's making. But
Chest
he
pains.
knows. He can see when I'm in the doldrums. But different people check in and I have different people I can call.
Okay. And what is a good experience? I think you're at that point where most people get to, you stop spending money on stuff and you start spending money on experiences. What are some of your most incredible experiences?
A business class flight to America.
That's right.
I don't know. You know what? Like the first time I flew business class, I said, oh my God, I get it.
Right.
Because the treatment is immaculate. I can't imagine first class cake. Because turning left in a plane is amazing.
All right.
Already in the first 30 seconds, it's champagne on the table. Something so stupid, man. Like ridiculous. Because when economy class and when first class, we all arrive at the at the destination.
That's what the people at the back
time.
are saying. Yeah. Anyway,
I used to be
we
that
get
person.
there together.
In fact, you'll die first if the plane
The luggage
crashes.
comes from the same carriage. Whatever.
No, it doesn't. The experience is just different, and I have an appreciation for the quality of professionalism. How they address you, how they tackle issues that you may have. One time they came and they said, "Can we make the bed for you?" I said, "Which bed?"
Oh, there's a bed?
No, ma'am, just stand to the side.
And you were sitting up straight for the whole flight?
Yeah, I don't know. When they offer you pajamas, say, oh my God.
It's amazing.
It's great. So that experience for me, wow. Staying in a good hotel.
Yes.
Because I'll come back and I'll say, I want my bathroom to look like that. So now I'm motivated to build a environment in my regular life that I don't have to feel sad of leaving the experience I've paid for.
So there's 1,000 thread Egyptian cotton now in your house.
And it's good. And I don't have the biggest house. I really don't. I'm working towards, having more. Yeah. But what I do have right now is so beautiful. Yeah. And my sister did my house and she's paid a lot of attention to it. And when I go to a hotel in the UK and I come back to my house, my experience is similar. So that's what I've done. I'm using my money to craft a life I don't need to escape from. I don't buy a lot of things.
Oh, I like that.
I'm not. That's a bar.
Yeah. I like them very much. Very much.
Diamond Walk, I don't know what stores are there. I know there's Amiri because Black Coffee owns that.
Right.
I love that. But I'm not a flashy person, guys. I cut my hair. I don't know when last I had a weave, but I'm just not that girl. Yeah. And there are people who appreciate that and like that. Yeah. But for me, I'm the experience girl. I want to go on holiday and see things and spend money without having to convert because then you won't buy anything. Ooh, a bottle of water is 17 rand. I'll get it. No. So that's the life I'm trying to craft for myself and the people around me.
By the way, quick, as I was thinking, you were saying Golden Thread. You shut down the talent business within Duma. You were tired of the people, huh? You were
I love them.
I'm teasing.
And just on that, we did it in such a considered way.
It was. I saw the announcement.
So that it doesn't No, we haven't fought. We're
Right.
able to still work together because that's how the relationship started.
Yeah.
It started nicely, so it must end nicely.
Yeah.
I mean, Jessica Nkosi, I couldn't get rid of her. She's my best friend.
She's your
She
best
said,
friend, right?
Ain't no way. You're throwing me out. The Golden Thread was really kind of crafted around her
Oh, I see.
to create a home for her. Mihlali and Mutsi DC went off with Levi, who
Right.
used to work at Duma Collective, and we encouraged him to say, Levi, start your
Start
own
your own
thing.
thing.
And that was just the encouragement. And he's doing so well,
Right.
managing really key talent. So that was a safe option for them. Cuesta already had Masilo, who was already working with him before and during us, and they were able to then continue the job together. With Somizi, he started his company when we helped him build that, and there was a little bit of a mentorship to say, you're becoming a business person now, so here's the little bit that I've learned that I can share with you. And now he's flourishing
Transition
on his
out,
own.
right?
So there was, like, it happened with PH before, where he then started PH Productions, and the people who were working with us went and worked with him. That's the consideration we've put into doing things. It's not like, oh, go your way, I'll go mine.
Right.
No way, because tomorrow the brand
We'll
that
need
we
each
are
other
working
again.
with says
It
they
says
want
we
Cuesta,
wanna-
and Cuesta says, is this you? And then what? So yeah, that's been the relationship with the people we used to manage at Duma Collective.
Got you.
But Golden Thread, African agency, was a couple of years later saying, damn, the talent thing is just not leaving me.
It's not leaving you. Okay.
Yeah, because it's from my father, right?
Right.
it's
It's in the
It's the
it's in the
gene.
DNA, right?
that I always want to be able to help people and do cool things with them, and all of us get paid.
How do they scale though? How do you scale a talent business? Because it's such a one-on-one sort of close combat type of thing. You can't. I mean, you saw Mo and I were talking about. I believe you must make everything a platform, and he's like, nah, you can't do that as a platform, etc., etc. How do you scale that business?
You develop products. You develop properties. You help them also kind of think of themselves as creators, not just creatives.
Right.
So 25K, who's a rapper, has the music that is a product. He has the live performance that he does, which is a service. Then he's got Loyal to the Plug, which is an event, and that is a property
Right.
that he's able to monetize in different iterations. And then there are other things that he's doing. He's got merchandise, other businesses that he should be investing in or could be investing in soon. And that's how I believe you help a talent scale. Do we have to have our fingers in every single pie? No, because at some point I want to retire, and I mustn't now still be tied to something that someone else must drive, right? And that's for me at least, because other people believe differently. Mine is to help talent self-actualize and monetize their abilities as far as possible.
Okay. That's them scaling their own abilities. But how do you go from managing? So Duma Collective, I think you mentioned about 7 people. How do you get that from 7 people to 100 people, for example?
You build a
Same
team.
formula.
You build a super team. If you look at WME or CAA
Yes.
in the US, there are 100 agents, 100
Correct.
lawyers, 100 finance people. Man, it's a big operation.
Yeah.
All managing different divisions. I mean, one talent can have 4 agents because the agent is for acting, the other one is for music, the other
Yes.
one is for product and development, and the other one is for appearances or brand work. That is a vision I have for Golden Thread, to make it the biggest African-owned talent management business. It's just going to take a lot of focus and time. And
Yes.
I've got this Duma Collective thing I'm also doing. So the split capacity is something I'm conscious of, and I'm working very hard to make sure that I enable both businesses to flourish independent of me.
Yeah.
That's actually what I'm building here.
And how do you feel about, have you done a lot of work on the rest of the continent lately?
Not a lot. We have a partner in Nigeria that we work with. And I call him partner, but it's not an actual official business partnership, but just a really strategic relationship called Night Angle. A guy called Kevin, amazing dude that we do a lot of influencer work with. And he's quite networked on the continent. So when a brief does come in, then we're able to activate that network. And we
Tall Kevin.
Tall Kevin, Kasim's friend Kevin.
Yes, okay.
Kasim, my brother. That whole crew. Kasim, who I've known since I was 19 years old, because he was our fixer when we were doing the Glow CAF Awards in Nigeria. And he just took a liking to me. And like the two of them are really some of my North stars that I look to say the way they just go for things.
Right.
And they are hunters. Say, look, if they can have that kind of enthusiasm for expansion, so should I. So I have had dreams of a Duma collective in Nigeria, a Duma collective in Kenya. Have tried, but again, that needs focus and capacity. So, work on the continent. Yes, we have through our networks, but I haven't done much recently.
Okay. Who are some of the women you look up to?
Oprah.
Okay.
That's number one.
Right.
Just because of how her skill and her talent got her to where she was when she was able to activate the luck that came her way in meeting a Steven Spielberg, a Quincy Jones, etc., to be able to then really scale her operation. So huge kudos to her. My older sister, Sibu Mabena.
That's right.
She's incredible. She's such a people's person. The wealthiest person you'll meet in terms of love and how much she's poured into other people. My mom, oh my God, what a champion.
Yeah.
What a solid human being. What a matriarch.
Yes.
And someone who's really taken the lemons life has thrown at her and turned them into lemonade. Yeah. And heck, she raised me and I'm great, so.
Yeah, hey, now.
Kidding.
No. It's a fact.
Okay,
it's a fact.
Lindy Maduna, my MD, 20 years, more than 20 years experience in agencies and working on brands, and just her contribution to building brands and people. And that's why I'm privileged to have her in our organization.
Yeah.
Eputi Mahanyele, who really was given incredible opportunities by some powerful people, and she held her own. Didn't feel like an imposter, or I don't know if she felt like one, but didn't act like one. Running Nash is not a joke.
It's no joke
as
at
a
all.
Black woman who is operating in a white-dominated industry.
Right.
And she just took the bull by the horns and ran with it. Georgina Machiriza at MultiChoice, my goodness, that woman, from call it a grad program to being the CMO of Showmax and everything she's done in between, I look at her and I'm just like, wow, lady, that you're incredible for having navigated the tough waters of an organization like that through its many different changes and its iterations. Nomsa Piliso, goodness, the kind of content that she is responsible for, the number of people she has to negotiate with and be a diplomat and be a shark sometimes and also be a mother to her children. And there's so many women I could speak of. My dance teacher, Annette Nyande, she's 60 years old now, but she's still dancing. Right. She's still teaching kids. Right. She's still so invested in the building her studio and the creative space. Many.
Beautiful.
Desiree Machraf at Bomb.
Yes.
Aye, Baning.
Those examples I think are absolutely amazing. And I mean, when you mentioned the likes of Georgina, I'm a big fan of that squad. Your pulse on culture at the moment. Piano, is hip hop dying because of piano? What's your feeling right now about culture? How do you define culture, first of all?
I hate that question so much because it's such a complicated answer in that, I think culture is a set of behaviors by a certain group of people, right? And there are various cultures. You speak of company culture, you speak of street culture, you speak of, culture in the anthropological sense.
Yes.
So
I guess I'm talking about entertainment culture.
In entertainment, fine, yes. Cool. I think the behaviors we're seeing, of where people consume content, whether it's audio, visual, written, there's a lot of polarization happening now.
Yes.
Where before, there were pockets that you could just go into and you'll find your people there. Now there's just too many options.
Okay.
There's too many things happening. And I say too many in a positive sense. That
Right.
There's no more monopolization of a genre or an activity where before, like I say, it's either you're going to Pop Bottles or Good Sunday.
Right.
Those are the events you have
Right.
options to. It's either you're going to the Sands or to Icon, as clubs that you can enjoy yourself at. We have now liberated people from wanting to fit in, but rather, and given them an option to say, here are the many types of things you can enjoy, and there's something for everyone. So when it comes to the music conversation around a piano versus a hip hop, I think with piano really becoming amplified during COVID, because of the different opportunities there were for that amplification and the many people who didn't have much to experience or absorb or take in, hip hop did suffer a bit because something new came. It was our new shiny toy. But what I see now is the hip hop guys have been fighting.
Right.
Oh, they're fighting, okay? There's this new generation of rappers and call them musicians, who are
Right.
coming out, and they're not hating on piano and, being like, these piano people, because there was a time when that was happening. I think now they're just doing their thing.
Right.
They're just like, yo, that thing is dope. Our thing's also dope, and we can all be dope. The R&B that's coming out also, if you go back, Grom's having a resurgence. Dance music, 3-step.
It's having a resurgence?
Yeah, like,
Not just in Durban?
no, guys, we're booking Q a lot more these days.
Okay.
A Tuxin is being booked a lot more these days. The 3-step guys, the defenders of house, if you look at a Shimza and an Oscar Mbo and Dark and all of them, it doesn't feel like there's a hip-hop versus Amapiano anymore. It's just music. And so many different properties are coming up from that. Kunye is huge, and it was happening on the same day as MT's one-man show, where the entire hip-hop industry was there.
It's a different audience also.
Different audience, all at the same time, and there are enough people to enjoy all of it. No one person, if you look at Spotify's data, is listening to the same thing all the time.
Yeah.
You can be listening to gospel. Kabza has a whole song with Ayanda and Tanzi, a piano guy and a gospel guy making one song. Well, they didn't make it together. He remixed it, but that tells you Kabza is more listens to gospel.
Right.
Because why would he have chosen a gospel song to remix if he wasn't liking it?
Gotcha.
So everybody just needs to wrap their head around. The world is open, and there's a space for everybody.
It's everyone's playground to play. With all the events you produce, okay, apart from Kickstart and perhaps Dance Nation,
Yeah.
one of the things that I heard you say is you produce all these events. Is there a reason you haven't already produced your own festival, music festival?
I've been
as
learning.
yet, or a music property?
I've been learning, crafting ideas, and also I've been nervous to do it.
Got you.
Because it also takes a different type of focus. I've also seen people, start, stop. If I do it, I want to do it properly, and that's why Dance Nation Africa took so long. It's been a dream for a very long time, because I've always wished that kids could have what we had in a Masters of Rhythm, a Strictly Hip Hop, some of the dance competitions we used to go to. So it's taken time, and maybe one day I'll do that. But for now, I think mine is to be a contributor to those who are doing it, and have the focus to do it.
Got you. Is the fact that I know you're very strategic and you're very tactical about where you play, is the fact that there is no barrier to entry a problem you thought about? Because it used to be a specialized area, right?
Yeah.
Where, only a few people could access talent.
Or a venue. Get the jock right.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Now that's being completely blown open. Are any of those factors some stuff you've considered?
No, I like I say, there's room for everybody to
Got
play. In September, there's a Delicious Festival and a Standard Bank Joy of Jazz.
Yes.
Similar crowd, similar talent pool, but both are successful. You have a Spring Fiesta, a Homecoming Africa, all happening at the same time. Thousands of people, 16,000 people are attending two events. In May, you've got an Ultra Fest, you've got Love Comedy Africa.
Yes, now.
And people are attending both. You know, there are enough people to attract to your whatever value proposition you have. So no, that hasn't been a thing for me. And in fact, I encourage more people with ideas, event promoters, to really try themselves out. Where it gets tricky is in share of sponsorship pockets.
Correct.
You know, like as a brand, you only have so much money to spend, and you want to reach different audiences. So if you, as an event owner, are not first to the table to be included in a brand plan, it becomes a little bit tricky for you because we can only support so many house events.
Yes.
We can only support so many hip hop concerts, so many gospel properties. However, for the actual event promoter, everybody's got to try themselves out. There are enough people if you're providing value.
Right.
Where I see an opportunity for us is to help people in constructing that consumer journey and being more intentional about it. Because what is a problem is how people are taking audiences for granted.
Okay.
These people are buying tickets with their hard-earned money. And you actually have to consider that and say, when a person spends their money with me and they arrive at my event, what journey am I giving them that says to them, I've thought about them? Okay. Are your toilets clean?
Right.
Do you have enough food stands or food traders for me to be able to nourish myself? Does your bar have enough bartenders and an efficient service for me to be able to get a drink?
Yeah.
Is there enough variety? Are the drinks cold? Is the sound good? Do I have a place to sit? Do I have a place to stand? Is there security? Am I safe? All the basic things that go into taking care of a person is what I wish our event promoters would think a little bit more about.
Okay. But doesn't that mean you can do it better?
I can, but I can contribute to doing it better and get people to pay me.
Right. And then this whole ecosystem of share of wallet from a sponsorship point of view, how do you play that game when you're sort of trying to raise sponsorships for your own platforms?
Every person that's ever called me to ask me to help them with sponsorship for an event, I've asked, if you don't get a sponsor, is this event happening? Yes or no? And a lot of the time, people are banking their ideas on other people's pockets.
Right.
And that's a very dangerous territory to play in because then nothing will ever happen for you.
Right.
With our property, Dance Nation, we're doing it ourselves with or without a sponsor.
Gotcha.
And that's always been the attraction factor for the people we're speaking to. So, okay, we may not have money this year, but we can add value. You're adding value to something that's happening anyway. So the budget for our event has been set aside by Duma Collective, and we are making the investment.
Yeah.
And we're building a property because one day they will come.
Correct.
And now what we're doing is, in all the conversations we're having with various sponsors, they're giving us the playbook to say, okay, guys, come to us in October because we're doing our brand plan in October
planning season, right.
for April next year. But for now, we'll give you stock. Thank you very much.
Right.
That adds to the consumer journey for our people. Or in order for you to get infrastructure, you need to fill in these forms. Let's get you as a vendor for now so that by this time next year, so it's a learning opportunity for us, but it's happening with or without a sponsor.
Gotcha.
And that's what I learned from Dimples, for example, with Pop Bottles. It started as his birthday party, something he was really joke about and bringing friends and like-minded people together. And then it started growing because it came from a place of, I'm doing this for myself and the people around me, and they're going to like it. Then their people will like it. And it grew to one of the most sponsored events in the calendar. Yeah. So if it starts from a place of, I think, passion, one, but two, kind of independence. Yeah, independence is the word. Then the people will come.
Gotcha.
Kunye, same story. You are, same story. And Shimza has equity in the game. People can trust him to deliver on a certain experience. A PH with Paula, he started it as a birthday party as well, and it's grown to what it is today. Bread for Soul, so LSG and Soul Diva. Same. A lot of the things that the most successful events have in common is that people started them with what they have, and they've built it to what would attract others to want what they have.
Got you. What is the reason around you not playing so aggressively in the content space?
again, other people will get me to come and help them play aggressively, and they'll pay me, right? Okay. Because I only have so many hours in a day. I only have so much capacity, and my vision is very people-centric. So that takes a lot of my time. I'm not an entrepreneur in the sense that I'm going to go and build many different properties, because it takes time to do things the way I do them. So from a content play, I can say I have started something called the Fixers Playbook, which is a conversation series that we're turning into a book to say, okay, all the people who've impacted my life, for me, or for that to become the DNA of the person I've become, let me have a conversation with them, transcribe that into a book, a tangible object that can go to many different places. That's what I'm doing in my little corner, in my own way of...
Your corner is not little.
But my father, on the other hand, is just like, we could be developing a production company. My feedback to him is, I just don't have the time right now.
Right.
Everything in its time. And it will happen because it is part of the vision and the dream. You know, when I look up to someone like an Oprah, she has OWN, which is the Oprah Winfrey Network, because she's put in the time and has had the capacity to develop that. Duma Collective, Golden Thread African Agency, a Dance Nation Africa, need my time right now. All these other things will follow.
I really look forward to you doing that. And the reason for that is because you have access to the pipeline. You have access to the biggest distribution platforms and partners. If the biggest streaming platforms are your friends, then getting access to that distribution, their playbook, and most importantly, the value of the content that sits on your balance sheet is completely game-changing. Even if you license it to them for what they call an indefinite license period, if you did a license to them, that still sits on your book, and you have access to the talent, you have access to the events, you have access to the rights. You should really build your content business.
You know,
really fast.
I was on George's podcast.
Yeah.
And he said, you should really start a podcast.
I'm not talking about a podcast.
2 months later, I started a podcast.
Right.
Now I'm on yours, and you're saying you should really build a content.
You need a content business. It is such a powerful leg in your business.
Yeah.
And again, being a part of the value chain is great. Owning a part of the value chain is even better.
Yeah.
Right? And you've already done that in many respects, but you have all the elements that connect the dots. You know, and you don't need, it's not just Sibu's brain that can figure it out. All you have to do is find the person that can do that. Give them and enable them to do that, right? Your brand is so powerful that when someone says, this is now Duma Collective Productions, everyone's going to sit up, right? So you know...
We hope.
No, they will. they will.
And look, I'm also honest about what I don't know.
Yes.
And I think I like to tread with confidence and just being kind of sure of what I can do.
Yeah.
Even if it means bringing other people to help me do it. But there has to be some semblance of expertise in it. So with the content game, it would take me some time because now the seed has been planted, right? And I'm saying this, Ted, and declaring it to you that it's not something I haven't thought about because I've encouraged Jessica Nkosi to do that, to say, let's start a production company and let's. So it's something that has been brewing. It's just going to take some focus, some resource allocation.
Absolutely.
And Ted
to help. We're here for it. We are absolutely here for it. I started this podcast because I want the best of us to be represented.
Yeah.
I think you are an amazing example of the best of us. Ooh. Thank you. Thank you for making the time.
Thank you for this platform. Thank you for everything you've contributed to my journey.
Thank you.
Guys, fun fact, Ted used to drive me to work because I didn't have a car, but I had money in the bank account.
That's right.
I tell the story of being in a taxi and having R1 million in the account, but it wasn't mine. It was Viacom's money for a campaign. So a Ted being my day one at Viacom in July 2015 and laughing
Yes.
at me for wearing a hoodie and tracksuit
Exactly.
pants when he was all suited up, and you still seeing me being of value many years later. I really appreciate that. And thank you for everything you're doing for the creatives and entrepreneurs of this country.
Thank you. Thank you for being our winners. All right, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. Do the right thing, like, share, tell a friend to tell a friend.